April meeting of the Executive and Finance Committee is now called to order. Councilor Callison, would you bless us?
Yes. Our most kind and gracious and righteous Heavenly Father, we thank you, dear God, for this opportunity and privilege to call upon your name in prayer. We thank you, dear God, for the safe journey here, dear Lord. Be with those that are ill and not able to be with us today, dear God. Give us all safe journey homes. Watch over us as we conduct the Cherokee Nation business. Bless us and help us that your will be done in our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Shelley, would you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Keith Austin.
Here.
Joshua Sam. Here. Danny Callison.
Here.
Julia Coates. Sean Crittenden. Here. Joe Deere. Mike Dobbins. Here. Rex Jordan. Johnny Kidwell. Here. Darrell Legg. Here. Wes Snowfire. Dora Petskowski. Here. Mike Shambaugh. Melvina Shotpouch. E.O. Smith. Here. Condessa Teehee. Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. We got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. That passes. Thank you. That takes us to reports, and today we have Chuck Garrett and guest.
Good afternoon, councilors. Thank you for allowing us to give the monthly report for Cherokee Nation businesses. Chairman, you're correct. I'm coming with guests today, which I'm excited about, to give the opportunity for you all to hear more about the progress we've made with our Cherokee Federal business. I know you get questions from time to time, and you have your own need for information, so we want to make sure we're always putting you in a position where you can respond to your constituents and ask questions of us as we continue to build that business. Before I introduce Mr. Stephen Bilby, the president of Cherokee Federal, just give you a couple of overviews for the month since we've last been together. We've continued to have an extremely strong financial performance. Of course, we were on the last time we were together, we had just completed the acquisition of Gold Strike Casino in Tunica. Glad to report that the integration of that business into our larger gaming and hospitality business has gone extremely well. The 1,000 or so employees there have integrated well, and the strategies in terms of marketing and various customer-oriented efforts have gone extremely well. So we're pleased with the progress there, and Mr. Bilby will talk more about the integration of our latest acquisition on Cherokee Federal, which was the cybersecurity firm based in Vienna, Virginia, that I had mentioned in some detail in our previous reports. So your businesses are running well and performing well, both at a financial level and I think overall in a good customer satisfaction as well. As I said, it is my honor and pleasure to have Stephen Bilby with us today. Cherokee Federal, when it started, was really just sort of an organic business, a business that we thought had some legs. Stephen was designated as the leader of that organization, and I think through his leadership and insight and hard work, we are in a very important tipping point with that organization. Back in 2010, I think it had something in line with $175 million of revenue. What's really interesting about that, in terms of last year, for example, over 60% of Cherokee Nation businesses' revenue came from Cherokee Federal. So I know we're all very interested and concerned about our efforts to diversify our business. And believe me, the entire team shows up at work every day with that being one of our primary objectives. I think 2022 showed that we're making good progress on that front. Not only was the top line dominated, or at least 60% of that attributed to Cherokee Federal. On the bottom line, almost 55% of our bottom line was attributable to Cherokee Federal. So I think we're making really good progress on that, and I think Mr. Bilby will go through some of the inner workings of the company and where those different focuses are. But it's been an impressive team that has been built, and they're, hyper-focused on bottom line and serving the customer. And I think with that sort of focus, they'll continue to have a lot of success that we can all be proud of. Before I turn it over, I just wanted to mention that Cherokee Nation Businesses currently has a workforce of just over 9,200 employees. So we're bumping up against 10,000, and we got literally hundreds of jobs openings that have gone unfilled since the pandemic. So when we get fully operational, fully staffed, and continue to grow over the coming months, I'm sure we'll be hitting that 10,000 employee mark. Of those employees that we can exercise a preference on, full 60% are Cherokee, another 6% are other tribal citizens or other citizens of other tribal nations. So about 66% of our workforce are Native American. Having said that, I always like to give you that stat because it's, it's something, again, you're asked about. And so hopefully that's helpful. I'm so proud of what you're about to hear, and it is really the product of a lot of strategy, a lot of planning. The Cherokees have always been good planners and good thinkers, and our ability to look down the road and plan for future generations. That's what this is all about. That's what all this growth is about. This is not about anything but about your kids and grandkids and their kids and grandkids. And I think we're getting to a position where this business as a whole, as a consolidated business, is durable, is sustainable, and is something that we can all be proud of. So with that said, I want to introduce my colleague, the president of Cherokee Federal, Mr. Stephen Bilby.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm always honored to be here and get to talk about Cherokee Federal. Outside of my faith and my family, Cherokee Federal is what I like to talk most about. So it's always a pleasure to get to update where we are and how far we've come. First, let me say thank you for having me. Second, I represent the team. Chuck mentioned we've built a fantastic team. So there's about 4,800 plus of us now that I get the privilege of standing up in front of you and representing. And so they do mighty work every single day, literally around the world. We'll talk about some of that work, but I'm so proud of them, and I just want you to know that and know that I'm just a simple representation of that great team that we have. I'll try to drive here and talk. So just a few stats. Again, Chuck mentioned, in late 2007, early 2008, a decision was made that we needed to diversify, and the goal, which aligned to the gaming compact, was that by 2020 we would have a business that was equal from a revenue perspective as our gaming business. And I'm happy to tell you, in 2020 we accomplished that. And obviously, through the pandemic, when we made good safety decisions to shut down the gaming business, our federal contracting business continued on and grew significantly during that time. We've got 500 plus contracts on the screen. Again, it's always a moving number. It says 4,600 plus employees. It's 4,850 as we stand here today. And as Chuck mentioned, we did a little over $1 billion in revenue. We have employees at 170 plus customer sites, and So, logistically, we're spread out. We are laser focused on serving our customers' mission and solving their problems. And again, I'll give you some examples of how we do that each and every day. On the left of the screen there are a couple of accolades that I want to point out, because it really tells you what the team has accomplished over, a short decade plus or so. The top one is Bloomberg every year looks at all of the government contractors, and they rank the top 200, and they publish a report that says who's the top 200 in the world. We are ranked 54th on that list. If you ever have the opportunity to go look at that list, all of the names on that you will most likely recognize. It is all the way from the Boeings and the Lockheeds to the Microsofts and the AT&Ts. And a couple of those, the last two specifically, we sit ahead of on that list. So it's quite an impressive list, and Cherokee Federal sits there amongst that list. From a technology perspective, a group called Washington Technology does the same thing, just specifically focused on technology contracts, and we rank within the top 200 there. So we continue to grow, and we do that through doing great work and again, serving our customers' mission. So speaking of our customer, we're really fortunate. It's the largest customer in the world. They spend in discretionary dollars about $1.6 billion every year, roughly about $1.6 trillion. Roughly about $1 trillion of that goes to other things, and about $600 billion is for government contractors, which we get to work to be able to perform the work on their behalf. Roughly about 23% of that spend goes to small business, which we are deemed to be. Based on the fact that we're owned by Cherokee Nation. And then just on the right, just four contract types that we work within. I won't go within that, but although we are siloed in one single customer, the U.S. government, again, it is the largest customer in the world, and it takes much of the Fortune 500 to make up and spend what the federal government does and spend. So from a commercial perspective, we'd have to go out and be spread across 400 or 500 customers to equal what we see on the federal side. So I'm sorry for the size of this chart. I hope you can read it, because I think it's pretty important. As you see at the top left, our motto is building, solving, serving, and we focus on three areas with that: our customers, our employees, and then obviously the shareholder. And we want to be very focused on building things, solving complex problems, and ultimately leading with a servant's heart. So I'll go from left to right here. As Chuck mentioned, we've made some acquisitions. November of 21, we made an acquisition in a company called Preeding. It's an intelligence company. And so the contracts that we have listed there are really just that. They are intel-based contracts where we are doing what we call multi-source analysis around intelligence data. So that can be human intelligence, that can be communication intelligence, and literally around the world doing that work on behalf of the federal government. In the middle there, something that we're super proud of is our work in what we call health sciences. It's a really strong blend of research and development type work, technology type of work. Literally, you'll see there on the one that's labeled as health surveillance. That's literally, and this was long before the pandemic, but literally we monitor infectious diseases around the world, and we create a report that goes back into our military saying, where are things occurring around the world that could impact us from a military perspective? As you guys well know, typically if there is some sort of outbreak, some sort of major event, our military men and women are the first on the ground. And so we want to make sure that if they're going somewhere, we know what they're going into. And so that surveillance report is part of that. The other thing I would point out here is the one on the bottom. Again, it's hard to read, but we work inside the CDC. We, from a virtual reality perspective, we use the virtual reality, the Meta's Oculus headset, to train folks in laboratories on how to handle infectious disease material. So before they actually get into the lab and handle that type of material, we work in a virtual reality setting to train them and teach them how to do that. So really cool, cutting-edge stuff that we're always super excited about. And then last, but certainly not least, when we talk about our service, many times, most times, we're talking about our service to the warfighter and how we help protect them, take care of them, keep them out of harm's way. So a couple of programs there. The Genesis program that is in the middle there, the military has rolled out a electronic health record system across all of the military. It's the same system that we have here at Cherokee Nation. And so we have helped them roll that out. We've helped them with the technology equipment. We've helped them on the training side. So we're always really proud of the service that we do there. In our manufacturing environment, the HIMAR program that we have listed last there, this is a bit, not a complete tank, but a tank-like vehicle, an armored vehicle that oftentimes will carry what's called a multi-launch rocket system. You have probably heard about this being deployed into Ukraine, sent from the U.S. government into Ukraine. Most of those pieces of the HIMAR we have maintained and support. So much of those that are going to Ukraine we have touched at Red River Army Depot. So we're super proud of the work that we do. This is just, and I won't go through each of these, but this is just a list of our capabilities that we bring to the government. You're probably thinking that's a lot of stuff, and it is. I always tell our customers that we are problem solvers. We want to understand what issues they have, what challenges they have, and we work across these capabilities to bring them the best solution. Whether that's building something from a manufacturing perspective, from a construction perspective, building a technology solution, we bring all of those things together to make sure they have the things that they need at the right time. So, you know, you've heard us before through Chuck, and through some of our reports. You know, we're very focused within Cherokee Federal on building capabilities. We've built the business to about $1 billion. We've leveraged our procurement advantage in doing that. And our future really comes down to the capabilities that we bring to our customer and how we separate ourselves from our competition. And so over the last 24, 36 months, we've been very focused on that. In terms of how we've done that, we've done it two ways. We've looked inside of what the contracts we had inside Cherokee Federal, and then we've also looked out to the market for companies that we can buy. And Chuck mentioned our acquisition of Criterion, and that's primarily in the cybersecurity space. It was a gap of ours. We hear about cybersecurity every single day now. You can't turn on the news. You can't listen to anything. You can't log into any of your applications now on your phone or otherwise without thinking about, are you protected? That is only going to become more and more significant. We wanted to be in that space, and so we made the acquisition of Criterion. I won't go through the rest of these just for time's sake, but it gives you a good understanding of the capability and the markets that we're focusing on within CFED. Specifically around technology. It's a huge focus for us. Obviously, the Criterion acquisition falls within that. This is a little bit of an eye chart, but when you look at it, the green things that we have on the screen are things that we are very mature at and very capable of performing. And then as it works from the light green down to the white, those are things that we're less mature and capable of. So we're very focused on how we build out our capabilities and how we can ultimately serve our customer with these capabilities. And this is just the IT view of that. So from a Criterion investment perspective, look to the far left, you see the cyber capabilities, risk management, security engineering, and security operations center. That's what we bought in Criterion. They have about 450 plus employees, a little over 120 million a year in revenue. And we expect to continue to grow that. One, because the market's growing. Two, we believe we have connections outside of the customer base that they had that we can take those into. predominantly the DoD, which is obviously where the majority of the spending comes from. Again, so I mentioned the Criterion acquisition. We continue to focus in technology. So most of you have probably now heard of things like ChatGPT. AI is a next wave generation technology. We were already tracking to what we were calling analytics being a target area for us. And so we will continue to focus on how we take massive amounts of data across the government, pick an area of where that data comes from, how we take that data, bring it together, turn it into what we call wisdom at this point, and then now through artificial intelligence, you can make that actionable without human intervention. Obviously, we understand the risks of that, we understand the gains of that, and we'll work with our federal partners to leverage that technology the best that we can. So through Criterion, they had a patented product called CyberScale, and basically it's a tool that we deploy within our customers through Criterion that is really, again, laser focused on cyber risks, cyber threats, and how we mitigate and respond to those threats. National Nuclear Security Administration is one of their largest customers. And so it's at a significant level at which we are required to perform, and we take that very seriously. And this is one of the tools that we use at our customers there. So I know that was probably a lot, and I don't know if you have questions for me, but I'm happy to take those on and answer those. Yes, sir.
Stephen, when did we enter the top 200 list?
So I think we entered it for the first time 3 years ago. We were at the tail end of that list, 170 something. We dropped, then we hit about 112, and then last year we moved to 54.
Yeah, we went from 112 to 54.
Yeah.
So that's an impressive quickness to get there. It's a high mark to stay there and keep climbing it, isn't it?
It is a very high mark. From here forward, it takes a couple $100 million in revenue to tick up. Again, you got Lockheed Martin at the top of the list at about $17 billion. Well, $37 billion on Lockheed. I think Boeing's at $17 billion in annual revenue. So yeah, as I say, the mountain gets real steep from here.
Yeah. You're getting in tall cotton right there, where everybody's, all your competitors are big players at this point, and so you truly are competing against the biggest out there right now. So I applaud the efforts, but I also applaud the continual efforts to make sure that your business units and all their employees and the speed that you're growing, that those employees know who they work for and
Absolutely.
know what the mission is. That's a big task when you've got that many employees, and they're in so many places. But
It is.
You can constantly bring in those employees here. You're constantly educating them, making sure that they know who they work for, and I applaud that.
Yeah, there's a thing we call the Cherokee Standard, and it's five things that are non-negotiables for us that you must have. And one of the things on that list is you must be an ambassador for Cherokee Nation. No matter where you are, you wear the star, and you must represent that star accordingly. It's a non-negotiable for us, so thank you. We take that to heart.
Are there other questions for Stephen? Yes, Wes.
Yeah, I'm just, our Cherokee Federal contracting capabilities have always been fascinating for me. We have, I guess we call it that, contracting vehicles, because that's what we sell. We sell a vehicle for private equity firms to utilize, so we go get the federal contract and then they administer it. Now, when they administer those contracts, are they administering them under their own company, or are they administering them under the Cherokee Nation?
You'll have to help me out. I don't,
So, for instance,
private equity firms?
Yeah, so
don't
we have like an $800 million contract in Pomona, California, handling illegal detainees that are minors, and $400 million of that contract went to ACOM, private equity firm. So what do they administer out on behalf of us? And when they do administer it, is it us they're administering them on behalf of, wearing, like you said, our pin, our seal, our star, or are they completely operating as themselves?
Yeah, so first, just real quick, we house unaccompanied children that are by legal status refugees. They're not illegal. Second, we were the prime contractor, right? We won the work. It was our solution. We performed the work. AECOM was a subcontractor to us, and they performed the facilities work. We performed all of the services work, all of the health administration work. We performed that. They performed the facilities and the engineering work to basically keep the site performing and working. It was take the Tulsa Fairgrounds, it was that type of facility, just larger, and they did all the engineering and facilities work to support that. They did some logistics work around inventory, but yeah, they're not, I don't think they're a private equity firm, but yeah, we worked with them. They were our subcontractor.
Okay, yeah, so just kind of, those are the interesting things, and like I said, you've grown really fast, really quick, and that's something to be commended on. When we're growing these things and the companies that we're partnering up with to administer these types of partnerships, I guess as you could call it, I'm actually 100% sure that they're not the most secure thing to be getting into. I mean, one is we don't directly employ citizens of the Cherokee Nation. We also don't affect citizens that are in district with employment. And so, I really have some apprehensions on how much and how fast we've grown on what we're actually doing and what kind of contract work we're involved with. That really brings consternation in my mind on the overall project. I've spoken that last year with about one of the allegations that was made out of Inspector General who worked for there and U.S. Senators signing on for investigations. And I just don't want to be caught up in the wrap of that, why people are following under us or wearing our Cherokee Nation seal. As a member of this tribe and as a current elected position holder, I have some concerns wholeheartedly with that and what that could do with repercussions if we're contracting on behalf of the federal government and those contracts are not clean. So that's my concern there. So appreciate that. Appreciate the chair.
Yes, Councilor Kidwell.
Mr. Bilby, thank you for being here today. I would like to, I take a little bit of, I think the word clean is kind of not appropriate at this point in time. All the contracts are clean. And I'd offer to Mr. Bilby, Mr. Chair, most people that don't understand government contracting, right, have questions about it. My phone number is anywhere you can find it. I'm happy to talk to any citizen at all that wants to discuss government contracting. Please don't call Mr. Bilby. He's busy running a multi-billion-dollar business. But my phone number is out there. I will talk to anyone about that anytime. The fact of the matter is the growth is excellent, and I want to commend you on everything that you've done. You've been instrumental in raising the dividend that CNB has paid back to the tribe legislatively, I might add, and Cherokee Federal is a huge part of that. And we wouldn't be able to provide many of the services that we provide, especially to at-large citizens. Especially to at-large citizens, without the work that you're doing. Much, 80% plus of the federal dollars that we get are spent on the reservation to people that live on the reservation. Whenever CNB makes their unrestricted money and those revenues that are legislatively appropriated back to us for our utilization, I get to go in and use my 1/17th vote as best I can to try to expand some of those benefits and resources to at-large citizens. The work that you're doing makes that possible. So from my seat, representing at-large citizens, thank you for everything that you're doing. And I know that you're doing it well. I understand federal contracting. I understand it well. And you're doing a heck of a job. You've got my 100% full support. And not only that, having been in California this past weekend, visiting with almost 2,000 Cherokee citizens there, having been in Kansas about a month ago, visiting with about 1,500 citizens there. They all appreciate it too. And I appreciate you giving us the one point of contact, Leslie Wine, to be that recruiter, to talk to those at-large citizens. That's so important. And man, and it's going great. We have one belly button that we get to push and get help and apply for those jobs. And I just can't thank you enough. Man, that money that CMB gives back to us, those unrestricted funds, it's very important people understand how that cycle works. And if they have any questions, call me. I will make the time to explain it as best I possibly can, not only because I think it's important, because I enjoy talking about it my own self. I think it's great, the work that we're doing, and please keep it up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Counselor. Did you have a question? No. Okay. Counselor Deere.
Mr. Billy, Chuck, you guys know what I did before I worked here as a 8A contractor dealing with contracts. I don't know how many guys on this council actually have been in a prime contractor position. Luckily enough to say I have, and are still doing consulting on these contracts, and where it comes into some of the businesses where you have to have those subcontractors. Because I don't think the understanding is that sometimes when you file these on the electronic to do a contract, it will reject your contract if you do not have specific subcontractors in that. It literally will kick you out and you cannot bid on the project. Because there is requirements that the federal 8A have, there's limits they have, there's all kinds of stuff you have to turn in to get to that process. So the dividend that we receive back from CMB to help our services is amazing. Yes, it would be great if we could have Cherokee Federal in this 14 counties, but they wouldn't fit in this 14 counties. So we get resources from the United States and other places to go to other countries to do that, which in turn leads to where we can spend money for services that we have in the 14 counties. So that is a huge amount of money you can get in federal contracting. It's not near what state contracting is, that's way less. But the services that we get from CMB on that portion you return is a pretty good fair share that we've got to see in everybody's district. And if you haven't seen those services in your district, you can raise your hand, but I don't think we're going to see that. So this expansion of CMB is just another part of how Cherokee Nation has tribal growth. This is where you have to reach out, just like in Tunica, to get the funding that we can bring back home to services, not just for in-district, but for at-large. So if you talk about ROIs and you see people spending millions of dollars, there's probably a reason why CMB has so many smart people over there that are doing the business work, that understand business. Because there's some people that work for a business, there's some people that own a business. And you guys understand what I'm saying. That's two different sides of the spectrum. So if you've been on that side, the business side, you're responsible for people's checks. If you're on this side, you're getting a check, you just got to show up. And now he's responsible. But what they're producing is a whole different level what Cherokee Nation is going with ROI. That funding, when we're talking $3 billion in contracts, even if you did 5%, that's a lot of money. But that takes care of Cherokee Nation and where we're going. Especially if we needed to get some money back for services for our marshals. We have 62, we need 108. That's $200,000 a year, one. We're not going to make that off a grocery store. There's no way. So what these guys are doing is second level to be in that position, to be able to do that. And I applaud them for doing that, because I've met with them as long as Kidwell. When we've gone to the CMB meetings with Counselor Austin, we see what goes on. And these guys work every day. They're not just sitting there collecting a check. They're looking out and finding expansions, how we can keep growing, because what we're doing is bringing that money back within the 14 areas in Cherokee Nation Reservation. So with that being said, I'm a totally full supporter behind Chuck Garrett and Steve Bilby, because I've been in their shoes. I know what it's like filling the pipeline. If you don't have that pipeline, these guys ain't getting checks. Nobody's getting paid. But these guys are filling the pipeline. They're finding businesses. They're going out. They're doing what's going to grow the best interests of Cherokee Nation. And I think that's what we all took our oath for, was to look what benefits our tribe, because that's our first respect. So that's all I had to say. That was my comment. Thank you, Mr. Bilby, for showing up today. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Mr. Chair, can I have to say one final thing?
Mm-hmm.
So This has been the blessing of my life. I've worked here for 20 years. I started as an IT manager. I am so thankful for my tribe, and I'm so thankful for this organization. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I will never do anything intentionally to tarnish this organization. I'm going to look at that camera that's up there, and I'm going to tell everyone on my team that is working every day, day in, day out, to build this place, to make it better. So more like me have an opportunity to do what's been done here inside this organization. I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to say that their integrity will never allow this place to be tarnished. And I'm so thankful for them, and it means the world to me that they go out and they do things the right way every single day. We will never win everyone over and believe in that, but I want them to know, and I appreciate you that do believe in me and them, we won't tarnish this place. It just won't happen. Not on my watch.
Stephen, you said something that I just want to say. You said it, but you said it in a way that I don't think it was fully could have been understood. You said your tribe. You are a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, and thank you for leading at the highest level. Mr. Garrett, we never got a chance to grill you, sir.
Well, I hate to deprive you of that. No, but, you've seen, I mean, and we have such tremendous teammate members, and young Cherokees that are in training that we're trying to bring up, and you're in good hands with our group, and our protection of our tribe is paramount, and so you can be assured we'll never do anything to risk that.
Well, first I want to make a short statement and then ask you a question. I traveled with your team to Tunica a few weeks back to check out the new property there, and I've got to report back that the employees there were extraordinarily enthusiastic. They were every single employee that I spoke with was extraordinary in their hospitality to us and to the patrons. You could watch their interaction with the patrons, and there was a sense of we are glad you're here, not a sense of trepidation. And under a major change like that, trepidation is normal. But it was, you guys have done a phenomenal job to help those employees feel like they are part of the team. And they seem very much like they felt part of the team already.
Good.
And that's a high task to have that under a transition like that. So your transition team did a phenomenal job getting those folks brought on board and feeling like they are on board. So thank you for that. I'm looking forward to seeing how that affects our bottom line.
Right.
And the one last thing I want you to cover just a little bit.
Sure.
We talked about diversification. The property in Tunica is a part of our diversification. It's our first commercial gaming license. And it's the first time that we have entered that space. And it's well positioned in a good location for us to take that on. The federal CFED is our diversification. But I know that C&B has great efforts made to further diversification. I hear the term create a third leg on that stool.
Right.
And I'd like you to just briefly share about that conquest that you guys have right now.
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. And you're right. We're furthering the diversification within the gaming portfolio by going into commercial gaming, but also geographically diversifying through the efforts at Cherokee Federal, different capabilities, different skills that we're developing, different clientele, different agencies, further diversifying. But regarding that third profit engine, we have spent the last 3 or 4 months getting the R&D, the research and development, and really thinking about two things. What are the industries that are currently have wind at their back? You know, what are the industries out there that are excelling above the average? And two, which of those do we have a competitive advantage in? So, you know, how can we leverage not only our minority-owned business advantage, but what are we well suited to do? What are our skills? What are we organized to do? And so when we see industries where they're outperforming the market, and two, we have some competitive advantages, they made a very short list. We start with 1,000 industries, we wind up with 8, and then we start to dig in. And that's really where we're at now. So my goal and our team's vision is to have that third profit engine up and running. It's going to take 2 to 3 years to, you know, find the right entry point, to get our right balance of risk between our 3 businesses. But the effort to further diversify, to further build out a sustainable and durable business, that's what we're doing. And that's what we think about every day. Of course, along the way, you have to be responsible in your growth. You know, you have to be deliberate, you have to be prudent. It cannot outgrow your capacity. And so we try to have reality checks along the way too, you know, that we're being really thoughtful and prudent about the growth. So we'll have more to report on that, Counselor, as we go along, but be assured that there's greater expansion in our future.
Thank you. Are there questions for Chuck? You've done that well.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to our treasurer, Miss Janice Taylor.
Good afternoon, Council.
Hi, treasurer.
Couple of things that I wanted to tell you about. The last meeting, we had completed our, well, no, we hadn't. We have finished our FY22 audit. It was all good. We have presented our PAFR, which is what I handed out today. That's the Popular Annual Financial Report. It's the same information that is in the annual comprehensive financial report, just in a little more easily digestible form. And we received, so the Government Finance Officers Association gives awards on various governmental entities on their PAFR, which you got, their ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, and then also the way you do your budget. And for the last number of years, we have received what they call the Triple Crown, which is we get awards of excellence for all 3 of those. And since the last time we met, we had already received for the CAFR and the PAFR, but since we met, we also got it for our budget. So for another year, we have received the Triple Crown from the Government Finance Officers Association. And that is just kind of an indication that we're spending our money appropriately, and we're also recording it appropriately and being transparent in the way we present it. So kudos to my staff for all the work that they've done on that. And then another award that we received, I have just returned from the Native American Finance Officers Association, and they give 6 awards yearly in various categories. And we received the Educational Program of the Year for our OSU Cherokee Nation Medical School. And they're awarded to tribes who think outside the box or do something creative or inventive. And I don't have to tell this body, but sometimes when you're looking at it again, that is the first and only tribally affiliated medical school. So it is something to be proud of. So I want you guys to be proud with me.
Thank you.
And that's all the extra stuff that I have. I did notice that rather than our report and the other finance reports being inserted, at least on mine, it was duplication of the rules reports. So I'm not sure where the finance report went, but it was a duplication. So if you want to see how many invoices we've paid or travel expenses we have sent, I can send that over and ask Gail to distribute it. Again, we did turn it in. I don't know where it went. That's all I have.
Yes, Shelley?
You get the electronic version, correct?
I do.
I corrected it. It's got the right report now, and in the paper book, it is right.
Okay. Well, mine either didn't update or,
You need to refresh it, and it will.
okay. All right.
Yes, Counselor Kidwell?
Treasurer Taylor, thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
I would like to get this out of the way now so that I don't bog down time when we're voting on the modifications. I was going through the mods. I noticed the R for reclassification of assigned positions. Thank you very much. My military mind is much
all
more
right.
at ease. Those look great. I appreciate all the work that you guys put into making those little changes.
Yes, and I do think that is probably a more clear picture of what's actually going on.
Absolutely.
So we're happy to do that, and when we know there's a problem, we'll fix it.
Are there other questions? Yes, Counselor?
Just when you mentioned the Triple Crown, you kind of snuck that in there real calm-like, but that's an indication that you're taking care, you and your staff, of our money. And I know I pester you with enough, but you're taking all of the receipts and the spending, and so just wanted to say thank you for taking care of Cherokee Nation's money.
You're welcome. I'm glad to do it.
Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else?
Okay.
We're good to go.
As always, you guys have my number. You know where my office is. Don't be a stranger.
Thank you. All right, Miss Diane Kelly, or surrogate. I don't see her back there. Is the Career Services represented today? All right. Well, we're going to,
I'm happy to take questions.
well, she can talk for 20 or 30 minutes. So,
Not me, sir,
all right.
but I'm happy to take questions.
Is there any questions that we asked to be carried back to Career Services today? All right, thank you. And Diane, pardon me, Anna.
I have 20 minutes now,
You,
does
you,
that
you
not?
you have all the luxury in the world.
Well, you do have a copy of our report, so I'm happy to take any questions. We did finish out the VITA tax year, and the last number was about 2,100 tax returns that we did. And I just have to thank, this was the first year that it wasn't just mortgage assistance, housing staff, and commerce. And so Career Services helped, Human Services helped. We had several different departments that helped us, so we were able to spread out a little bit more and help more people throughout Northeast Oklahoma. So those teams do a really good job, and it saves, the average person saves about $200 just in fees by coming to VITA, so.
Sounds like good doogie going on there.
That's
Everybody's
right.
working together.
That's right, that's right. It took me several years to talk them, though. But if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yes, Sean?
Anna, will you do me a favor, and you've probably already done this before, but I send lots of people to Commerce inquiring about the 184 loan. You know, that's really not a part of what we do, you know, individually.
Right.
Would you, and it may help in the future, but just send me kind of, if someone's interested, just some bullet points
Sure.
of here's your direction. That
Sure.
might even save, yeah, you need to get hold to so-and-so at Commerce, and where I could, and we could just, great program, here's where you start.
Okay,
And
I can.
Thank you.
I sure will.
Thanks, Jerry.
Is there anything else for Anna today? All right, Anna.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
That takes us to our consent items. You've all been given those and given time to look through them. Are there any objections? Any concerns? Yes.
I would like to point out that you probably noticed in this month's budget mod, we have an increase in the sports teams funding. And you'll notice on the consent list for sports teams, we're at 97% of the budget. So that's the reason why I had put in for a budget mod to add money to that program. So I guess everybody has, as well as the increase in funding and the changes in the qualifications, I know we have more citizens, youth that got signed up and everything, so that's driving the need for that increase in the budget. So
It does appear the lowering the eligibility has had really a pretty low effect. I see 3 teams total on there that are of that level. It's the raising the total dollar amount that has had the biggest hit on the budget.
there was a couple, 2 or 3 more that came in this week on that $300, but yeah,
Okay.
there's not been many that have qualified for that lower level, so.
Well, I'm glad we have that opportunity, but I still know that it does not have a real big effect on the budget. But I'm sure glad we're taking care of more people and making it available for more people. So anything else? Thank you for that clarification. All right, we'll move on to our business items. No old business. We do have 2 new business items, and Counselor Sam, would you please take Act 1?
This is an act amending Legislative Act 29-22, authorizing the comprehensive capital budget for fiscal year 2023, Mod 6, and declaring an emergency. And I put this in form of a motion.
Got a first and a second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes. And then we've got number 2. Counselor Patskowski, would you take that?
An act amending Legislative Act Number 30-22, authorizing the comprehensive operating budget for fiscal year 2023, Mod 7, and declaring an emergency, and I put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, we've got a first and a second on that. Any discussion?
I just wanted to point out that Treasurer was nice enough to point out to me that on budget number 10, it's a feral swine program, but I had typed it in as the feral wine program. So I'm assuming that was strawberry wine instead of a grape wine. So, but I will be making that typo correction for the final version. So,
Feral wine. Well, I kind of feel a little less good about it now. Yeah, that's right. So, any other questions? All right. We will, we've got a first and a second. No questions. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, that passes. And Diane, if you had been 30 seconds longer, you could have just kept your nose to the grindstone. But since you're here, we're going to go ahead and let you present it.
Well, thank you. No, Anna's watching my back. She came down there and got me, and she said, "Did you know they started early?" And I said, "No, I've been busy. I've been working." I do have some good news. I sent you your report, and I think we put 2 flyers in there. One was on our career exploration program, and one was on our youth leadership. The last flyer that we added that's not in here is the summer youth employment program. Mm-hmm. And it started Tuesday, the 23rd. So we're taking applications up through May the 19th. And somebody said, "How come such a short window?" That's because we got already a bunch of kids on the program. They're carryovers from the kids that were on during the spring semester. So anyway, we're taking applications in all of our offices. So if you have students that are 16 to 24 years of age, we'll send them our way. Any questions? You got my report.
Any questions? Everybody's ready to go now.
All right. That's good.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate your work, always. All right. That takes us to, anybody have anything that they need to announce? Any announcements? All right. One final motion needed. Motion to adjourn, second. All in favor, say aye. All right, let's go tackle the world, huh?